Hello, and thank you for coming to check out the 2024 Home Gym Summary Survey results. I'm Jake Jaworski. I run Garage Gym Experiment and also Home Gym Con. I've actually been surveying the community since April of 2019. So there's a ton of data over on the Garage Gym Experiment blog. And for the last few years, I've been trying to really summarize that year by year, and this is the 2024 results in audio, or you can watch this as well. So anybody who's watching or listening, you can find this on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts, and then there will also be a blog post with most of these survey results kind of in a summary form. I'll have also links to the original blog post as well for some of the main important ones. All right, so let me just tell you what I will be talking about with these results. So number one, who answers these questions and additional information about who owns home gyms and why. So this is not necessarily a standardized random group answering questions. It's a very specific group answering, which I think is most relevant for most. It makes this data extra special and unique for those in the space. Home gym space, purchasing decision info, what people like to see in their marketing. So home gym issues, equipment preferences, company preferences, additional trends, and more. I'll try and sneak in some of the just some other interesting insights I've seen throughout the year and some trends I expect to see in the coming years as well based on this data. All right, so who is answering these questions? So first of all, this data comes from the Garage Gym Experiment Instagram account, which has a little under 200,000 followers. The sample size, it's done through the Instagram stories, and the sample size is typically about 1,000. So I know this isn't necessarily, again, like the standardized version of doing it, but it's the best way to get 1,000 responses each week through the Instagram stories. So some other additional information about this, or about who's answering. 64% are parents, likely at least 80% are male answering these questions. Nearly 75% are between the ages of 25 and 44. 15% additionally between 45 and 54. The home gym is the only workout option for 44%. It's the primary workout option for another 44%, and then a secondary option for another 12%. Also mentioned that most likely about a quarter are those living within the United States. 72% follow a workout program. 38% pay for a workout program. 12% have a one-on-one coach, and then hybrid is the most appealing workout style when asked between hybrid, powerlifting, strongman, and bodybuilding. So over half voted for this hybrid method, which leads me to think that along with some of the other data in here that you'll see, where we see most people are still lifting with barbells, but it's more of just a stay healthy, I think it's a continuously improving group, a group that wants to continuously improve, but they're also just focused on longevity. It's not necessarily people who are competing at the highest level of different strength sports. A huge characteristic of most is that most save time, not money, with a home gym. So in the most recent time we asked if they save money, only 41% said that they do, while 93% are saving time. So I do think with not only does this survey, but plus other things that I've seen, most people truly appreciate the time that's given back to them as opposed to the potential money saved by owning a home gym. And in regards to saving money, I think, I started a home gym back in 2015, 2016, and it was much more prevalent of an idea to start a home gym because you wanted to save money. There was a better opportunity for you to start a home gym for about $1,000, barbell, plates, rack, and ultimately you could repay that within a few years of cutting costs from going to a gym, for example. However, as you can see with the data, that has gone pretty much steadily down ever since the first time we asked that in October of 2020. All right, so home gym space. What are most people working with? So number one, just about everybody has a different space, and it varies quite a bit. So, for example, when I asked how much square foot, how much space is your home gym, with options being 100 square feet, 200 square feet, 300 square feet, and 400 square feet, the answers were varied quite a bit. So the most popular answer only had 32% of the votes, which was 200 square feet. The second was 400 square feet with 25%. 24% are working with about 100 square feet so they're working about within a 10 by 10. And then 300 square feet, about 20%. In regards to where are home gyms within the home, about 62% say that it is in their garage. And then the second most popular is the basement. Ceiling height is an issue for some, but not necessarily the biggest issue for most. About 8 feet or higher is actually what we're typically seeing, with around 8 feet being the most popular ceiling height most people are working with. And then just a little nugget that we'll actually touch upon later as well. 62% say that they would add at least 2 specialty machines within their home gym in an ideal world. Basically, what I'm trying to get there is times are changing a little bit where people don't necessarily want just a power rack or just a few things in a home gym. They really are seeking variety. So what are people using the most in terms of equipment? So there were 4 possible answers here. I broke it down between barbell and weights, dumbbells, kettlebells, and pulley systems. And this is also just going to give you a good idea as to who's answering these questions as well. So barbells and dumbbells are pretty easily used the most, with barbells used the most easily. Pulley systems came in third, and they actually beat out kettlebells by a decent amount. And then, kettlebells were easily in last place. Again, I think back to like when I started a home gym, there weren't necessarily as many pulley systems, but a lot more people had kettlebells, at least based off my initial thinking of what the market looked like, or what most people's home gyms looked like. So I think this is something that has changed over the years as well. All right. Next up, a very important topic for some, but not for the most, as the data says. So made in your country importance level of data. So how important is it that you're buying gym equipment that is made in your country? So if you're from America, how important is it that it was produced here? So this is something that we've been asking since April of 2021 in the same way, and it hasn't shifted too much, but it has gone down a little bit in terms of like level of importance. So first of all, about 38% typically look to see what country the equipment was made in before purchasing. That seems like a pretty low number. I think a lot of people also already know where it is, so that might also be a factor, but that's pretty low. About 30% say that it is at least important to buy gym equipment made in your country. Only 4.3% of that are saying that it's essential. And again, that hasn't shifted too much. Back in April of 2021, at essential level was 6.4%. In regards to creator/inventor support, the importance level is a little bit more, but not drastically different. So 33% say important, 6.6 say almost essential. So that combines to be almost 40%, as opposed to the, what did we say? 30 combined percent for made in your country. And then a little bit, so you can tell a little bit more people are more passionate about this. there's less neutral votes as well, but 42% do say not important. And I'm not here to say that's wrong. I'm here to give the facts. All right, so this question also relates to that, and I think it gives us a little bit of insights as well. So, what do you value most in a company when purchasing gym equipment? We gave 4 possible answers. So, customer service reputation, being the innovator, brand relevance, and then engagement with your sport or home gym community. The easy winner here was customer service reputation with 49%. So almost half of the votes, and then the other 3 were spread out relatively evenly, being the innovator with 19%, engagement with sport or home gym community 17%, and brand relevance is 14%. So that does kind of tell me like the customer service reputation is going to I think the customer service reputation is, a pretty good indicator for most people as to like how the companies ran, are their values strong. And I think that ultimately trumps some of the other factors that we just touched about. All right. And then made in your country importance or community involvement. So what would you rather see? About 60% actually went with community involvement. So to me, that's doing things like being involved with Reddit and Discord and doing giveaways, getting in the Instagram comments, going to Home Gym Con. I think that's probably the number one thing that you can do to show community involvement. So those things are pretty important to a lot more people, and actually more important than origin of where the equipment was made, or if the equipment was made in your country or not. 4 times more like seeing CEOs and founders in a company's versus not. So we asked, do you like seeing founders in marketing? 44% said yes, 11% said no, and then 45% were actually neutral. So it's a neutral topic for a lot of people, but we're seeing a lot more yeses than nos here. Are you more likely to buy from a person you've met in person? Or are you more likely to buy from a company that you've met in person, or from a person from a company that you've met in person? Probably a better way to say that. 38% say yes, 31% say probably, and then 31% say no. And then we asked, are you less likely to buy from companies that knock off other companies? So you're buying from the Chinese. And then we asked, are you less likely to buy from companies that knock off other companies with their products? So 55% said yes. So 55% are going to try and stay away from those copying everybody else and just reproducing what everybody else creates. To me, that seems like a little bit of a low number. But it just doesn't seem to be that important of a topic to get results like this, where it's pretty close split in the middle. And then 80% say it is important for those involved in creating the equipment to actually work out. So most likely people want to see people actually using the equipment. I think a lot of people have a lot more trust in people that are clearly testing the equipment and making sure it works for them before pumping it out to the public. So we're seeing a lot more interest in buying from companies that are, they are out there. They're doing things. They're showing that they're using the equipment. They are, showing the community who they are. They're supporting the community. They see the company founders in their marketing. Those sorts of things are seeing as something that the community or whoever is answering these questions appreciates the most, as opposed to, where the equipment is made. And I think that's also important in times of, I think the economy is probably down a little bit and people are pinching their pockets a little bit. So they're trying to save where they can. And all of this plays plays into, I think, a lot of people, what people can do with their strategy. All right. And I think we need to keep in mind that this question was asked on Instagram, but when asked what social media platform influences most of your home gym purchasing decisions, the easy answer was Instagram. So 55% said Instagram, 34% said YouTube, 5.6% said Reddit/Discord, and then 5% said Facebook. So I think a lot of that is people probably spend a little bit more time on Instagram, and there's also just a lot more variety, a lot of like quick hitters of people's home gyms that they see and makes them want to buy for theirs. When it comes to home gym issues, there are two that are easily at the top. So on the screen, you can see a list of all. They're rated as not an issue, minor issue, medium issue, or large issue. The number one issue is lack of space for a home gym. 32% said large issue. 33% said medium issue. Price of obtaining more equipment is the second largest issue. 30% say large issue. 34% say medium issue. Temperature control is in third place and also easily in our third place and still not close to second place. So about 14.5% said large issue for temperature control, and then 22% said medium issue. And then in a separate poll, we put the two biggest issues side by side. We said space is true or false. Space is a bigger issue for me than cost when it comes to adding to my home gym. 73% said yes, space is a bigger issue than cost. All right, next up, a little bit more specific equipment. So one thing that I've seen over the years is a lot more interest in adjustable dumbbells. And I think the Rep-Ins have really become the gold standard and is something that a lot of people really want in their home gym. So I think that's helped tipping this even further. But when asked what type of dumbbells would you add to your home gym, earlier in the year, 47% said traditional dumbbell set, 43% said adjustable. So it's very, very close. Whereas I can guarantee you 3-4 years ago, it wouldn't have been. And I'll need to dig up some data, but the adjustable dumbbells overall quality, not just Rep-Ins, but you have TrueLap, the Power Blocks have gotten better. Iron Masters still doing appreciated by most. Just the overall quality of the adjustable dumbbells are getting better. People like them. They can save space with dumbbells and then ultimately create some or add something else with the space saved. So I do expect adjustable dumbbells to overtake traditional dumbbell interest next year as well. And then just a few more tidbits. Dumbbells are much more popular than kettlebells. And then later in the year, I think I can't remember what the date of this one on the screen is, but I think it's like first quarter of the year. We did just like a month or two ago ask, would you choose a 5 to 100 set of adjustable dumbbells versus a 5 to 100 set of traditional dumbbells with cost in mind? And more chose the adjustable dumbbell option. There isn't necessarily too many 5 through 100 adjustable dumbbell options out there. So that's to keep in mind, but yeah, adjustable dumbbells overtook them later in the year. And as I'm doing this, I'll just mention like the topics here. There's are 5 to 10%, if not less, of all of the surveys covered in last year. So there's plenty more. These are just kind of the handpicked. I think these are the most important ones of the year. For example, we have probably dozens of barbell specific questions that we've asked over the past year. And here's one of them. So how many barbells do you own? Only 19% do not own multiple barbells. So when asked how many, 2.6% said 0, about 17% said 1, 46-ish% said 2 to 3, and then about 35% said 4 or more. So only, as you can see, or 81% own multiple barbells. And then we asked why. In a different question, 71% mentioned that just general variety and specialty bars were the primary reason they own multiple. The most popular specialty barbells are safety squat bar, open trap bar, multi-grip bar. Done a whole post on that. I'll make sure you can find that pretty easily in the description. Power rack data. This year, Rep beat out Rogue when asked where are you most likely to get a power rack from. So they received 46% of the votes. Rogue received 36% of the votes. And then if you're looking at the chart, you can see how that has changed since 2021. So in 2021, 54% voted for Rogue, whereas Rep received just 18% of the votes. And then this time around, it's 49% goes to Rep and 36% to Rogue. And you can see how that shifted from year to year. And I think most people just saw a lot more innovation around the power rack. Rep was kind of the leader in terms of getting new rack attachments to market first. And then we saw a lot of people kind of follow suit. So they established a reputation, and I think a lot of people really built up a lot of trust in Rep building around their current ecosystem. So they went with Rep. When asked about top folding choice, Rogue was the top choice there, beating out companies like PRX and Bridgebuilt. 84% said that they would own a 3x3 rack with 1-inch holes in a perfect world. Most people want either a 4 or 6 post rack. When asked if you wanted a 4-post rack or 6-post rack or 2-post rack, 4 and 6 received about the same amount, way more than the 2-post racks. The 30-inch depth is the top choice for most. 72% are willing to pay more for the right color. And then 23 express high interest in an all-in-one rack. That's one thing to keep an eye on, and definitely something I think will change in the future. I think a lot more people want an all-in-one rack, either as their main rack or as a secondary rack where they can do accessories. So rack attached versus standalone. So a big decision when building out your home gym is to get a certain piece of equipment as a standalone piece or a rack attachment. You can see on the screen a poll that has a list of equipment and whether it is standalone, rack attached, or not interested in either. We have things like Smith machine, leverage machine, belt squat, functional trainer. I can point out a few of the more popular pieces of equipment. So for example, the lat pull down / low row, pretty split in the middle. So 45% said standalone versus 49% as rack attached. We have things like leg curl / extension, or where 62% said standalone machine. So I'll link this one in the blog post as well, if you want to check that one out. But pretty cool data here that I think a lot of that you can look pretty closely at and get some cool insights. All right, Smith machine data. So we had some Smith machine options be released earlier this year. And a lot of people think that they're going to get hot within the home gym markets. I personally believe this. I have had a Smith machine since January. I use it all the time. I think I am kind of like right here within the target demographic as a 36-year-old man who is just trying to get stronger, stay in shape, and be healthier over time. Pretty standard, and I feel like I'm a good example. I'm able to catch on to certain trends, and usually if I pick up on something, I see it happen in the market. So I think the Smith machine is one. it's been really nice for me personally to have a Smith machine for the past year as variety. Don't necessarily always want to pick up a barbell for certain things. I really like using it for high rep burnout stuff. So it's been a great addition. I definitely see it catching on even further. So back to the data, 60% do believe that Smith machine popularity will continue to improve in home gyms. And then when asked what type are most people interested in, between the fully rack attached, like what Bells of Steel just released, the VTS from Bulletproof Fitness, built-in all-in-ones from companies like Force USA or Vesta, and then a standalone Smith machine. The easy number one was fully rack attached, like what Bells of Steel just released. I think Fringe has something coming out soon. And then the Bulletproof VTS, one where you can attach your own rack and it goes up and down on trolleys. About 25% said Bulletproof. And that was the second most popular answer. In 5 years, who will be the most popular equipment supplier for home gym strength? Between Rep, Rogue, Titan / Bells of Steel, and other. Rep pretty easily won this one with 48% of the votes. Rogue was at 37%. Other had 8.9%, and then Titan / Bells of Steel came in at 6%. This is another question that we've been asking since 2021. And another just like really good example of Rep versus Rogue. So Rogue was very dominant in 2021. They received about 62% of the votes. Rep received less than 13% of the votes. And then you can see it shift on the screen as well, slowly over time to where we are now. Who will be the biggest challenger to Rep / Rogue in 5 years? We did this poll 2 times, but pretty similar results with a couple of different companies. Titan came out on top both times. In this specific poll, they received 45% of the votes. Bells of Steel was second with 34%, Fringe 18%, and Body Solid just 2%. All right. Some more company-specific questions. I'll also mention these companies are used not only because they are seemingly the most popular within this community or the most bought from, I should say, but because they give you a good variety of like values. So like we've got Rogue with the Made in America all the way to like Titan, who is more budget friendly. But anyways, with cost in mind, where are you likely to buy an entire home gym from? Rep was the easy winner here with 54% of the votes. Rogue, 30% of the votes. Titan, 9% of the votes. And then Bells of Steel was 7% of the votes. So that kind of based off of reputation of each company, you can kind of see like people don't necessarily want to spend the most, but they want pretty good quality. They also don't want the cheapest. And that's kind of where Rep falls, or at least based off of the reputation they've earned. They're high quality, good value. So yeah. What type of gym equipment are you most interested in adding right now? So the 4 categories here were rack attachments, specialty machines, specialty bars, and then cardio equipment. So rack attachments was number 1 with 40%, specialty machines, 34%, specialty bars, 14%, and then 12% went to cardio. I think a couple of years ago, if we asked this question, specialty bars might have been at the top of this list, but rack attachments and specialty machines were pretty dominant here. Tech interest is not incredibly high, but it does seem to be up year over year. So when asked, how do you feel about tech entering the space this time around, about 17% said they're a big fan, whereas that number was just 11% the year before. Most seem to be neutral. So 48% said neutral this time around. whereas the number there this time, or the number in 2023 was about 56%. And then in addition, a few other questions we asked. So 47% do use tech to improve their fitness. 22% say a piece of technology caught their attention in 2024. 40% believe, and then 40% believe a company like Rep or Rogue need to implement great tech into some product to still be on top in 10 years. Trust levels of companies. So this is something that I could have gone down and asked about 50 companies, but I tried to keep it relatively concise, chose 9, and simply asked, what's your level of trust in these companies, high, medium, or low? We have everyone from, I'll just list. We have Rogue, Rep, Black Widow, Fringe Sport, Bells of Steel, Titan, GetRx, Frey Fitness, and then Major Fitness. So the overall amount of high levels of trust wasn't like spectacular. It wasn't really, really high. The highest levels of trust went to Rogue, where they received about 69% high level of interest votes. And that goes all the way down to Major Fitness with 2.6% high levels of trust. So, you know, you can, if you're watching, you can see all of the numbers on the screen, but you know, Fringe Sport only receiving 24% high levels of trust is not too high. About 49% did vote medium. Bells of Steel, Titan a little bit below them. So yeah, kind of interesting data. We'll be interested to see how this changes year over year. Again, we'll link to this one in as well. Specific strength sport levels of interest. So bodybuilding and powerlifting are easily at the top. 34% voted high levels of interest in bodybuilding. 30% voted high levels of interest in powerlifting. We discussed like most people aren't actually competing, but this kind of shows you how most people are training, I believe. So most people are, you know, using a barbell. They're doing squat, bench, and deadlift, kind of like the powerlifting style, and then bodybuilding, you know, just want to look good. So I think this does give us an insight into like how people are training as well. In general, other than those two, the third highest level of interest went to strongman, and that was only 13.8%. So most people don't have a hugely high interest in specific strength sports, which makes sense. These usually do include pretty niche communities around them. Who has dropped the best products in 2024? We asked Rep, Rogue, Bells of Steel, or someone else. Rep easily won with 43% of the votes. Rogue, 33% of the votes. Bells of Steel, 9%, and then someone else, 15%. Some additional specialty machine numbers. So this seems to be a hot topic for a lot of people, something a lot of people are interested in. I think people are keeping an eye out on what's being added. It's not necessarily a category where everyone's just going to instantly buy. Most of these have price tags in the thousands, and you really want to do your research before just pulling the trigger on something like that. But interesting data. Number one, 70% would put a specialty machine in their home gym. Again, I don't necessarily think this is something that a lot of people would have done 10 years ago, like when I first started building out a home gym. I don't think I would have done that either, but I would absolutely today. 70% would put a commercial gym piece. 70% also would put a commercial gym equipment piece in their home gym. And also, as we discussed earlier, in an ideal world, 62% would have at least 2 specialty machines in their home gym. And then some more just very specific equipment preferences. I want to do more of these next year as the list goes. I want to do more of these next year to build on this, but here's what I have so far. So 64% believe Rep makes the best benches for home gyms. 68% believe Rogue makes the best barbells for home gyms. The Rogue Echo Bike is easily the air bike of choice for most. The Concept 2 rower is still top rower for most. The Rep Open Trap Bar is the trap bar most choose. Rep is the top power rack choice, as we highlighted earlier. The leg curl / extension is the lower body specialty machine that most would choose. I think this is primarily because it's really tough to mimic in any other way other than trying to have it. And then the functional trainer is the top first specialty machine choice, but it's pretty close between that and a lat pull down / low row, and also just leg machine in general. And then lastly, 6 trends within the home gym community. So I recently posted a blog post on this, discussed it with Adam on my podcast, but I'll recently touch on it here as well. So number 1, evolving influencers in the home gym community. So there are a lot of different forums and social media platforms that people are spreading the word. And there's a lot of people that don't necessarily you wouldn't necessarily consider them as an influencer, who are spreading the word and having an impact on what other people think. So whether it's the Garage Gym Reviews Facebook group, Reddit, Discord, there's a lot of different people spreading the word. Mini commercial gyms in home gym spaces. I think like as you build out a home gym, you want a home gym. The biggest hurdle for most people is like setting up. So I think what people do is they figure out what they do the most and then add a specialty machine here and there to mimic that and help make your workouts simpler, easier, and more streamlined and fluent. Buy once, cry once, but still save where you can. So Again, this is a mindset that a lot of people have. You don't want to just buy the cheapest item because it will ultimately break and cost more over time to rebuy. But I do think there's a lot of high quality equipment out there that most people that will last forever. And I think a lot of people are trying to save where they can, and this is something to keep in mind as well. We discussed convenience over cost. So convenience has definitely surpassed cost as the main reason for building out a home gyms. I think most people who start are living busy lives. They still want to keep their workouts, but they want to save time where they can. So I think that is what should be going into most people's messages when spreading the word about a home gym. The home gym as a lifestyle and hobby. So personally, the home gym is like my favorite hobby. I like to make it my own space. I like to personalize it when I can. It's kind of my thing, along with thousands of others, as like their hobby. I think a lot of people in the past have built out, or a lot of guys have built out like man caves. And I think there's a lot of people building out like their gyms with that same kind of like man cave mindset going on. And it's a healthy hobby. It's helping people stay active. I definitely think it's going to continue to become the main thing for a lot of people, or the main hobby outside of like your life with your family, for example. Diverse training approaches at home. So we've touched on the data where a lot of people are interested in just like hybrid workouts. To me, that is like with longevity in mind, just general health. You want to look good as well, but you're not necessarily training for a specific strength sport, which I relate a lot of this back to like what was happening 7, 8, 10 years ago. I think a lot of people, the first movers into the home gym were people who were training for a specific strength sport. So powerlifting or strongman, They had these unique setups, and I think it's turning more generalized, or it was like stuff you could do in the living room. A lot of people did that as well. So I think it's turning into a lot more generalized with like pulley systems and machines. So you want your space to look more like the gym you went to, which had just about everything. So that you could do this diverse hybrid style workouts. And that's it. So thank you for listening. I hope this helps, especially if you work within the industry. That's kind of who this is really targeted towards. If you find this interesting, I would highly suggest, subscribing to this podcast, subscribing to the blog. The results are posted for free every week. And I think even not every week may be relevant to whatever you're doing, but I think it gives you good insights into what's happening in the community, people's thoughts. And then, every once in a while, there could be a survey that's revealed that just like gives you a product idea or gives you some sort of marketing idea. It just gives you some information you need that will help your business or help the company you work for. So I'm also happy to answer any questions as well. So feel free to reach out at any time. Thanks.